The third example of the DeFi building blocks and services that I would like to talk about today is the decentralized lending. Is a very important function in finance where people who have money lend money to people who need money. And an important part of lending is to make sure that the loan money eventually gets returned. And when the loan money fails to be returned, which is called a default in centralized finance, institutions try to reduce that default rate because it's very expensive to get the money back. So processing defaults are very expensive. And in the case of under collateralized loan, CeFi actually relies on credit scores, credit worthiness to approve a borrower for a loan. In DeFi, the lending is largely done with over collateralization. And also because the DeFi, oftentimes the entities that participate in DeFi have no real identity, there is no real credit. So lending in DeFi is often not based on credit. There are different types of collateralized loans in the DeFi, including collateralized debt positions, where essentially borrowers put up collaterals and use that to create new tokens, for example, DAI in the MakerDAO case. Or you'll see it soon is going to be the AAA protocol. Another example is collateralized debt markets where borrowers put up collaterals and then they borrow funds from lenders in a different type of crypto assets. And in this case, we can take a look at Compound and Aave to see how they operate. There are some DeFi applications that explore the under collateralization lending. And this is an area that it will be interesting to see how it evolves, especially with kind of a decentralized identity coming into play. Flash loans, I would actually like to spend a little bit of time talking about flash loans because this is really fascinating. This is an innovation in DeFi. So blockchain, unlike the CeFi case, has a new capacity, and that ensures atomic transactions. In particular, what this means is that the actions within a transaction are executed entirely in sequence or failed collectively. And I'll explain this in more detail. So with this type of atomic transactions, blockchains can enable a very interesting new capability, such as flash loan. So in the flash loan case, a lending application can provide a loan without any collateral, but the loan is paid back at the end of the transactions plus interest. And because of these atomic transactions, this flash loan can be done in a very secure way, because if the borrower at the end of the transaction cannot return the loan plus the interest, then the transaction will fail and the state will revert back just as if the borrower has never borrowed the loan. And the amazing fact for this is that without any resources, without any collaterals, anyone can borrow with this flash loan that actually could be very high amounts, could be millions or hundreds of millions of dollars without any upfront cost. And this does not exist in CeFi at all. So here is an example of a transaction, right? So you have a lending protocol on the left-hand side. An arbitrager sees an opportunity on seeing how the USDC and DAI trade in different markets. It gets a flash loan of 2 million, exchange that for DAI on one market, and then exchanges DAI for USDC on the other market, and then pays back the loan and makes a profit, in this case, for 16K. Those are just few examples of DeFi blocking blocks and services, but there are many other examples as well. So for example, decentralized derivatives. Derivatives are essentially the financial assets whose value is derived from certain underlying assets. And there are different types of derivatives, for example, asset-backed derivatives such as synthetics that creates derivatives based on for example, stocks, and there can be event-based derivatives such as Augur or predictions. There are essentially prediction markets that create assets based on external events. Another type of DeFi building block and services is on-chain asset management. Here, you can actually provide asset management in a non-custodial which is very different from a traditional asset management. And the other feature, which is very important for the DeFi asset management block, is that you can trigger semi-automatic rebalancing of your portfolio or even trend trading. And here I just kind of mentioned two protocols, Yarn and Set protocols, that are trying to generate those semi-automatic rebalancing. And another building block is the decentralized insurance, which is still kind of in progress, but it's an area of high interest. DeFi provides great innovation and many opportunities, but at the same time, there are also many risks in DeFi that we need to be aware. I would like to kind of spend a little bit of time on DeFi security. Again, we'll try to cover this in other lessons, but right now, just to kind of give you a broad kind of overview of what are kind of the vulnerabilities inside a DeFi protocol. So given that the DeFi runs on number of layers, you remember there are settlement, assets, and applications, and user interface, and so on, there are security issues across all those layers. So it can be network attacks, can be consensus attacks, can be smart contracts, code bugs. And here the most used one is the reentrancy and authorization. It can be DeFi protocol composability attacks. And here is that this excessive arbitrage between pools and flash loans can create a lot of problems in some protocols versus the others. And another very common one is the Oracle attacks. We had several examples where the bridges were hacked. And another one is the governance attack. DeFi security can be broken down into two big areas. One we call technical structure security or technical security. So those are essentially secure issues risen by the underlying technical vulnerabilities. And often hackers or attackers can take the profit in a risk-free manners by hacking those technical vulnerabilities. The second type of default securities is called the economic incentive security or economic security. And in those type of issues, the attackers exploit the incentive structure of the protocol to realize unintended profits at the expense of the protocol or its users, right? So the first one is risk-free. They hack into your system, is all technical, exploit, and they take the profit. The second one, they're just exploiting the incentive structure, and they realize this unintended profit at the expense of the users. Another type of risk is in DeFi that we need to consider is the systematic risk. On one hand, for the DeFi, the composability enables great innovation and fast progress in developing new DeFi applications. But on the other hand, this type of compatibility also introduces wide dependencies in different applications. So problems in one DeFi application can quickly cause problems in another DeFi application as a ripple effect. And one of those ripple effects is liquidation. So if you have a big liquidation that's happening, let's say in Aave, that causes a drop in a significant drop in a price on a single day on a single token, then this can trickle and cause type of liquidations in other type of lending protocols through deleveraging or automatic liquidation triggered by different protocols. In traditional finance, stock markets have the circuit breakers. So when the loss becomes too much in a blockchain world, there is no such as circuit breakers. So this is in particular important for us to further investigate and explore the different ways to reduce the systematic risk. Future research challenges. This is something for people very curious in building and researching. Those are really very important topics that will really take blockchain technology to the next level.